On Capitol Hill demanding Dr. Anthony Fauci be fired after a letter from the National Institutes of Health stated EcoHealth Alliance had violated the terms of its grant from NIH by, quote, not immediately reporting an unexpected experimental result in which mice became sicker when infected with a modified coronavirus. The lawmakers say this is proof NIH-funded gain-of-function research in which a virus or other pathogen is modified to become more virulent or infectious to humans. Kentucky Senator Rand Paul, one of the lawmakers who says Dr. Fauci should be fired for lying under oath. Senator Paul, good morning to you. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Good morning. Thanks for having me.
You have said for months now you believe the NIH funded these experiments which caused viruses to gain function during experiments with bat coronaviruses. What first led you to suspect this?
You know, Dr. Fauci has indeed repeatedly lied about this. We looked at the original research as it was published in the scientific journals, and even in the scientific journals, they're not hiding the fact. This has been in their papers. Dr. Shi of the Wuhan lab, the lead bat scientist, writes in her papers that she got the money from NIH, specifically from the part of NIH headed by Dr. Fauci. But she also writes in her papers that they took unknown viruses, combined them with the SARS virus, which was a previous coronavirus that caused an epidemic in 2004. They combined these viruses, create a new virus that's never been seen in nature, and that new virus infected humans. And so the thing are humanized cells. So the thing is yes, they've been doing gain of function. And our point all along is this type of gain of function research may well have been what they used to create COVID. And we don't have absolute proof that they created COVID, but what we do have is a lot of indications that this virus came directly from a lab and didn't come from animals.
Senator, during a recent interview, Dr. Fauci denied it and said he did not lie to Congress. And he added this, that it was molecularly impossible for the bat coronaviruses being studied in Wuhan to develop SARS-CoV-2. And he said, quote, and yet when people talk about gain of function, they make that implication, he says, which I think is unconscionable to do, to say, well, maybe that research led to SARS-CoV-2. What's your response to that?
He's once again lying. He's misdirecting you down a straw man argument that we aren't making. None of us have argued that the viruses that have been published are COVID or are close enough to COVID to have become COVID. What we're arguing is that the technique of gain of function could have been used to create COVID. The Chinese have not been stupid enough to release that they have created COVID, nor are they stupid enough to release that they have a virus very close to COVID. So if it exists, it would have been in the Chinese database, and they would not have actually told us about this. But one indication that the Chinese may well have developed COVID is they asked for money from the U.S. government. Why we're giving them any money, I don't know, and Fauci continues to be for it. But they asked for money to make a specific change in what they call the furin cleavage site. This is how the virus attaches to the cell. They asked for money to do this research, and what they wanted to insert into the coronavirus turns out is exactly what is in COVID. So they were asking to do an experiment to create something that looks very much like what COVID turned out to look like. Now, we didn't fund that one. It was one of the few we didn't fund. But yes, the technique and the ability that we helped them to learn, we helped to teach the Chinese this ability has led to, I think, this pandemic. And it could lead to worse. And that's why I'm saying investigate it in Congress, in committee. Let's make sure this doesn't happen again. COVID has a 1% mortality, and that's bad enough. That's over 5 million people have died worldwide. But what if the virus they create next time has a 15% mortality or a 50% mortality? They're doing experiments with MERS, MERS, which is a coronavirus that also caused a pandemic, and that's a 50% mortality. They're merging that with unknown viruses and saying, hey, wonder what we'll get if we merge these two viruses and we create this new virus. Wonder whether it'll infect humans. That is a recipe for disaster. And many scientists who are nonpartisan, not Republican, not conservative, are warning that this is akin to sharing nuclear secrets with other countries that we don't trust. Sharing the secrets of how to create these viruses is a disaster for us. I don't think the Chinese are trustworthy. And this is where Fauci really goes wrong. He still wants to send them money. They're still sending money to Wuhan as we sit here. They're still funding this lab.
Which is why you have called for an investigation. Attorney General Merrick Garland was asked about this very thing yesterday during the hearing. What did he say? Will we see one?
Well, it's a little hard to interpret. Officials like Attorney General Garland are used to not giving any answers. So when he was asked whether or not Fauci is being investigated for lying by Senator Cotton, he sort of said, "Oh, we can't comment on investigations." And you can take that one of two ways. Either he was just brushing off the senator so he didn't have to give any information, which is probably it, or there actually is an investigation and he can't talk about it. It's hard to tell from his response, but you could read his response as saying there is an investigation. I'll believe that when we see it. But there should be. Look, they went after Roger Stone. They've gone after Republicans for lying to Congress, supposedly, and yet they are turning a blind eye to Fauci. And Fauci is a menace. He is a danger to our country and a danger to the world because he's a big fan of gain of function research. And he's actually said that, we might lose a few people, but the research is worth, the risk of a pandemic. I think most people related to the 5 million people who died would probably beg to differ about that.
And before I let you go, Senator Paul, I want to ask you very quickly, switching gears as we talk about some of the spending bills on Capitol Hill. West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin raised concerns regarding the billionaire tax that Democrats were hoping could pay for the spending package. He explained, quote, "I don't like the connotation that we're targeting different people. They've contributed to society. They've created a lot of jobs and invested a lot of money and given a lot to philanthropic pursuits." It doesn't matter how much this bill is pared down, evidently, for some Democrats, if they can't agree on how to pay for it. What are you hearing right now on the Hill? Where are Democrats right now? Where is all of this in regards to both the infrastructure and the social spending bills?
I've been pleasantly surprised at the resolve of Senator Manchin. He is an independent to his core. He's not taking walking orders from the socialists in his party. And like I've said, he's welcome anytime to come across the aisle to our caucus if he wants to, if they treat him poorly. But I do think that he is really asking the tough questions. Will these taxes they're putting on us help or hurt the economy? Most of the time when you attack rich people, they just raise the prices of whatever they're selling to us. So, years ago when they wanted a luxury tax to punish the people who were buying yachts, the rich people went to the Bahamas and bought their yachts, and the people who lost their jobs were the people making the yachts in boatyards in our country. These were average middle-class people. So you need to be aware of any time you say you want to, hurt the rich, you want to tax their super rich and wealthy cars. Maybe they go to Europe to buy them, or maybe they buy something else. But maybe it's the auto worker that makes $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 on the line who gets punished. My town, we make Corvettes. I've never been able to afford a Corvette or had one, and yet I'm all for the workers there who are making them, who many of them don't have Corvettes. But for us to say, we want to punish rich people who buy Corvettes is a really misguided sort of class conscious, in a way, a form of Marxism that we should all reject.
Senator Paul, we appreciate you joining us here on the National Desk. Have a great day. Thanks for joining us.